section. So this time last year, you may remember I told you about the questionnaire the exit questionnaire that we'd launched in the faculty as a tool to aid in developing and improving the experience for our postgraduate research students. By the end of May this year, 46 students had completed the questionnaire, and there were some common themes beginning to emerge from their responses, and we thought it was a good idea to look at the data in more detail. Now, there's a lot here, but I'm just going to focus a little bit on certain things. So basically, candidates were asked to, or the graduates were asked to rate their level of satisfaction in various different aspects of their PGR experience, from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. And this graph shows the degree of satisfaction of the students for different aspects of the programme, shown on the left. And they're shown in the different colours. And the good news, I think, is actually that most of our students are pretty satisfied, which is excellent news for all of us. If we look at those areas of provision where 10% or more of the students are either dissatisfied or very dissatisfied, there are 5 areas, I think, where we can improve. The first is in the progress monitoring, then the support received from your supervisory team during thesis preparation, desk space, always an issue, the opportunities provided to present your research findings at seminars and conferences, which I think is surprising to me, and then the support provided by your personal tutor. So these are areas we'll be focusing on over we continue to focus on these areas. Students are also asked to provide free test comments on their experience, and again, these are usually very positive, and I've selected just a few of them here. I really like this one. It really changed my way of thinking, made me more critical, insightful to theories and clinical practice, gave me self-confidence to conduct independent research, and developed presentation skills. Then there are others which are a little bit more critical. I think this one's very pertinent. And then there are others that are beginning to raise some concerns, particularly this one. My supervisors were intimidating and very limited in their concern for my well-being. The research culture in my department is very poor and will continue to remain very low till supervisors make an effort to actually support students. Okay. So I'd like to focus on this one a little bit more. This editorial appeared in Nature a few weeks ago, and it was prompted by a very high-profile case of bullying and racism that occurred at the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics. And this led them to undertake a survey, an anonymous survey of 120 researchers at the Institute, of whom just over 50% responded. And amongst them, there were 3 allegations of bullying and 2 reports of sexual harassment. And the writer of this editorial highlighted the difficulties that researchers face when they find they're experiencing bullying, and said that your friends tell you to complain, but you're afraid of repercussions and of losing the opportunity you fought so hard for. And anyway, you don't know who to trust. Interestingly, as I've shown from our data from the exit questionnaire, and that was only just representative, of course, but we're also getting feedback from our postgraduate research representatives who sit on our faculty research committee, graduate research committee, and also they have their faculty forum. And they tell us that there are students in our faculty who are experiencing bullying, but they are afraid to complain, because they're worried about the repercussions that this might have. Now, the person at the centre of this bullying controversy was someone called Guinevere Kaufman, and she actually corresponded with Nature to explain her alleged behaviour, and I think her comments are quite interesting. This is what she said about racism, but I'll just go through what she said about bullying. She said, I am of the generation that was subjected to very high pressure supervision. I realise that this has now become unacceptable. I believe I have modified my behaviour very substantially in the last 18 months since the complaints were made. And then she goes on to say, our procedures for evaluating graduate students and providing honest feedback are still not uniform in my opinion. Approaches vary greatly from keep quiet if the student is not doing well and let him or her sink in the exam or job market, to attempt to steer them towards a successful career with all your strength. I believe I fall into the latter category. Nobody I had trouble with ended up quitting astronomy. Now, I don't know about you, but some of these comments actually resonated quite a lot with me. I have colleagues, my contemporaries, who had very difficult and unhappy times as PhD students, and who, looking back on their experiences, would say that they were bullied. But they just accepted it. They got on with the work, and they didn't complain. Equally, I think that we all feel it is our responsibility as supervisors to ensure that our students do well. We want them to do well, and we want them to succeed in life. However, we may not recognise that the pressure that we're putting them under could be seen to be, it may be unacceptable, and it could be seen to be harassment or bullying. We also need to recognise that not all doctoral students will be aiming to have research careers in academia. That the PhD degree provides the basis for a wide range of interesting careers. This was not an isolated case. There have been a number of examples recently, high-profile examples in the literature. For example, we've had Professor Nazneen Rehman, who will be leaving the ICR in October this year after some very serious allegations of harassment and bullying. Then we had the empathy researcher, Tanya Singer, who was accused by 8 colleagues of intimidation and bullying, one of whom said that whenever anyone had a meeting with her, there was at least an even chance that they would come out in tears. And then, just in case you think I'm focusing just on the women, there are some men. Okay, and there's this high-profile case of Indra Verma, who had to step down as the editor of PNAS after several allegations of several women came forward accusing him of sexual harassment. And with regard to sexual harassment, there was a survey carried out by the NUS not long ago among students, current and former students. I think they were mainly undergraduates. And 40% of them reported at least one experience of sexualised jokes, comments and unwanted touching from staff. 2% of those current students who responded said that they'd experienced non-consensual sexual contact, and 0.6% of them said that they'd been sexually assaulted or raped by a staff member. Okay. Right, so why am I telling you all this? Well, what's the take-home message? I think it's that we, as supervisors, need to be aware of what constitutes bullying and harassment and ensure that we behave responsibly in a way that respects the rights and dignities of others at all times, and that we recognise that what we may think is acceptable behaviour may not be acceptable to others. And how do we do this? Well, I think I'd start by recommending we all read the University's Dignity at Work policy, which is available on the HR web pages, and which states that the University does not tolerate bullying, harassment, discrimination or victimisation, and as far as possible complaints will be managed speedily, confidentially and communicated effectively. We're not just trying to protect our students here. Research funders now, like the Wellcome Trust, now have policies on bullying and harassment, and failure to adhere to these policies can result in withdrawal of funding, as has happened in the case of Nazneen Rehman recently. We'll be working with our students to improve and increase awareness of complaints policies so that students who are experiencing difficult situations will not be afraid to come forward. I'd also recommend the relevant compulsory and optional training resources that are available to us all as members of staff, in particular the suite of e-learning resources which are available from HR, and you can access these on MOLE, and they're listed here. And of course we've got some excellent workshops which are run through the Supporting the Supporters programme, and we circulate details of these